Hello and welcome to Romantasy Readers Podcast. My name is Nicole, and as always, I am joined by my fabulous co-host, Alley. We are very excited to bring to you an exciting episode today, a recap of a massive book that came out. Was it last year now? Has it been over 12?
It's been out for over a year. I think it came out maybe
like March
fall of last year.
2024.
Fall, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Anyway, if you have been under a rock, that is the only way you could have missed this, because if you are a romantasy girly like us, you have read this book, and that is Quicksilver. We are recapping Quicksilver and talking about what we're hoping to see from Brimstone. We are so excited that Callie Hart is bringing us a sequel.
I'm so excited pretty quickly too. I'm really thrilled about that. I really am. It's so funny. So I was listening to our old episode just to kind of prep myself a little bit for this, and by the way, it is a really good episode. It's actually one of our most popular episodes ever. It's our most popular episode on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want like a good recap, but also more of like the excitement of the book and a lot of the theories and things like that, I think go back and listen to that episode. We published it in like November of last year, so you can scroll through and find it. But what's so funny, Nicole, so we recorded it on Halloween, and I know that because in the very beginning of the episode, I'm saying to you, "Oh yeah, I just like hurt my foot. I stepped off my like porch wrong and hurt my foot." And like, so what happened is I was like, I was hurrying to get ready for this podcast, stepped off my porch, hurt myself very badly, but was like, I have to continue. I have to record. I have to hold my commitment to Nicole. And so I went and then had we recorded this whole like almost 2-hour long episode. And then I finished it. And I finished that episode and I was saying to my husband, like, my foot is really hurting. I think we should go to urgent care. Turns out I had fractured my ankle in 3 places and torn my Achilles tendon, but I had just sat through 2 hours of talking about Quicksilver.
And being like, Quicksilver is the priority here. Yeah. That was the level of commitment we had 12 months ago.
Yeah, that was how committed I was to this book, how much I love this book, that I could literally talk about it with 3 fractures in my ankle. No painkillers, by the way. I hadn't taken any painkillers yet. I hadn't iced or anything. A completely torn Achilles tendon. And like that ended up like I was in a walking boot for 4 months. I had surgery on it. I couldn't walk for 8 weeks as a result. So like all of that started the night that we recorded this podcast episode.
Well, we are so thankful that you were able to get through that episode, because, as you said, it is one of our most successful episodes.
Yeah, and it was a fun,
you were just living out your FMC, like powering through injuries to,
That's right.
Take the world.
Right. I'll do anything for a good book. For a good book boyfriend, I will do anything for a good
100%. 100%. Well, we're very glad that you've had a good recovery now post. How is the ankle doing now?
It's doing really good. Yeah, it's doing really good. I would say I'm like fully recovered finally. It took, I probably only have been in like full recovery for like a couple of months now. So yeah.
We're the podcast of broken bones.
I know.
Injuries.
We're getting healed.
I'm not sure if I've recorded this, but we were going to record an episode and I was so excited, and I have a 2-story house, and I ran downstairs and I had socks on because it was cold, and I slipped and landed on the stairs, and they're like these modern wooden stairs that had a really hard edge, and I landed on my lower spine. So I had to call the hospital, I had to call like the ambulance, and I had to go to emergency, and after an MRI confirmed that I had fractured my lower spine. Luckily no permanent damage, but I just had to like be on strict bed rest for a couple of weeks. And I was lying on the stairs waiting for the ambulance, and then I've like had to message Alley and be like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to make our recording in 1 hour's time because I've like fallen and broken my spine.
I know. Honestly, our voice notes are a thing of epic.
We could just like release them as their own, like
unhinged things to one another via voice notes at like all hours of the day, all times of the day. It'll be 4 a.m. my time. I'll be up, and Nicole and I will be sending voice notes back because I'm up reading or something. And truly, I think too, like we hadn't recorded in a while. It was going to be like our first recording in a while. And so, I was prepared, I was excited. And then I just get this voice note from Nicole, like, it's so sad. She's like, I've really injured my back. I'm not going to be able to cut. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, oh my gosh.
I don't know why, you just reminded me of something, which I just want to reflect on, our whole time in Romantasy Readers. And something I love about Alley and us is I feel like the books that we love are so on par. Like our level of our love of Romantasy, our love of spice, like we are right there with each other with what we love. I've got other friends that like, that they love fantasy, but maybe they don't love the romance as much. And others love the dark romance, but they would pick that over Romantasy. Whereas for me, I'm like, I will kind of pick Romantasy and I can vary from high spice to low spice, like if the story is really good. And I just feel like we've always been on the same page, which I love.
And you know what is so funny? We're always on the same page about the controversial books. Like this book was a little controversial. There are a lot of people that hate this book that did not think it was very good. And that was like shocking to me because I was like, this is a 7 million star book. How could you not love it? It's so good. And we both were like totally locked in on loving this book. So,
I think we can appreciate a really well-written book, and then we can also appreciate just a total vibes read that just is addictive. And, people come out and go, oh, this was really badly written. And I'll go, was it? Was it? I didn't notice that Fourth Wing was written badly. I just really enjoyed it.
Here's the bone I have to pick with that, right? People say that like it's badly written, but there's so many things that go, as someone who has written a book, there are so many things that go into writing a book. And the plot is part of the writing. And the like tension, the romantic tension is part of the writing. And I feel like people like don't give books credit for that. They'll be like, oh, I didn't like the sentence structures or like the words that she used. I'm like, yeah, but she wrote a book that you couldn't put down. And that is part of the writing. Like people will be like, I like the plot, but the writing was just so bad. I'm like, no, those two things are the same. Like,
and I think that's where
it is the writing. Like,
exactly. And I think what I like is if it's somewhat intentional. Like I think some writers intentionally write it at a lighter level where it's really, you can really connect to it. I liked Rebecca Yarros's writing because I feel like it's what I would be thinking in my brain. If I saw Xaden in real life, I would be thinking he's a hot piece of ass and I would be like drooling over him. So when she's doing that, I'm feeling the same way. I completely understand that. I think when it's intentional, it's fine. I think the writing, I sometimes, if I'm reading an arc or something, it's when it jumps around or it like pulls me. If I get pulled out of the book, that's when I question the quality of the writing. If I'm completely submersed in this world, then I think it's awesome. Whether the writing is up here or down here, if I'm submersed, I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And this book, it did start slow. But like I remember where I remember where I was when I was like obsessed reading it because I remember like I was on vacation with my husband and we had said that we were gonna like, we're gonna be really intentional in this vacation about spending time with one another. And I like had to throw that all out the window. I was like, Kingfisher is here and he is more important than you. Like literally we went to we went to brunch. We were in like the desert of Utah where we love to go hike and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll like when we go hiking, I'll put the book away, but we're going to go have brunch before hiking. And we're like waiting on our table. And I'm like on my Kindle reading, like while I'm waiting. And then like I'm at the table and he goes to the bathroom and I like sneak it out of my purse and read a little bit and then put it back in my purse.
Yeah. I was the same. I was in Europe at the time and I am a horrible holiday reader. For some reason when I'm on holidays, I'm too excited that I'm on holidays. And I actually, one of the rare times I can't get into reading books. I'm too excited wanting to explore wherever I am. But this was my one exception, which again is testament to how addictive the book is. Yeah. I found it different to you. I've actually found this book very entertaining right from the word go in that I think it was this really immersive world.
It was.
I feel like you visually got this really, I think I described it as slightly Indiana Jonesy because it's kind of the desert and they've got the water shortage and all that. And so you sort of get this instant feel of where she is. And I love that rich kind of world that gives you almost a movie kind of introduction to the story.
Yeah.
So,
and the magic system was so unique. Like
absolutely.
one of my favorite, like, and kind of most unique magic systems I think I've encountered in the last couple of years, for sure.
I agree. We tend to see the typical magics, which I love. I don't have any issue with sometimes getting back into the magic systems that we're used to, but it was really nice to see some fresh and new kind of magic working in a new and different way. But before we go too much further, let's just quickly do what we always do every week, which is asking Allie, what are you reading at the moment?
I am reading two things, because I'm always reading two things. I am reading the not the Twisted Throne, the newest Bridge Kingdom.
The Tempest Blade.
The Tempest Blade, thank you. Yes. I am reading the Tempest Blade, which I'm super excited to be reading. It's super good so far. And then I am also reading Caught Up, the sequel to Lights Out. I'm a little behind on that one, but
yes.
I was feeling like I was reading the Tempest Blade, and it's incredible, but it is, it's Daniel Jensen, so like intense politics.
Yeah.
Lots of world, just like so much political intrigue. And I was just feeling like I needed, and it's been really busy at work, so I needed something light. So Caught Up, a nice little dark
Caught Up.
Love it. Love it. Loving it so far. What about you?
I'm the same. I have multiple books on the go. Such a book slut at the moment. I just love it. I've got my audiobook and I've got my real book. I'm going through a werewolf era at the moment, it seems. I did Mate by Ali Hazelwood.
Oh, you've already read? Nicole, you were supposed to tell me when you were going to read it so we could be friends.
Oh, no. I've already finished it.
We literally recorded an episode last Thursday, 1 week ago. At the end of recording that, we said, we should probably do Mate next. I said to Nicole, let me know when you're ready to read it. I'll drop everything so I can read it so we can like both be fresh on it. She didn't tell me she was gonna read it, and she's already finished it.
I was just like, I meant to read this, aren't I? Because Allie, I think I forgot that little part where you said, "Tell me that you're reading it." I just read it.
I would have read that instead of Caught Up. And like literally, when I was downloading Caught Up, I was like, I would really like to read Mate, but Nicole's not ready for it yet, so I'll just do Caught Up instead.
That's right. I'll refresh on it again because it was super good. I actually feel like I felt like it was better.
I'm excited for it.
I feel like it was better than Bride, but I loved him.
Bride was like my number one book last year. Did you know? Like I like Bride more than I like Quicksilver.
I love their personalities. Like that's what I love with Ali Hazelwood. It's the personality she throws into her FMCs. They're so fun. But this is more werewolfy. It kind of levels up on the werewolf side because obviously the first one is a really, she's a vampire, he's a werewolf, and they're kind of learning about each other. Whereas this one, they're both werewolves, and we learn more about mates connections and and there's a lot more spice. I felt like the spice massively leveled up.
Wow, because Bride is pretty spicy. So.
It has been a long time since I've read it. It was a while ago. So I'm like, from my memory, I'm thinking that this massively leveled up. But anyway, we'll do it and then we'll review it and we'll bring it on here to talk about it. But that's not even the last book that I read, Allie. I've read since then because then after that, I'm also reading The Ascended. I'm reading that in a physical, and that is, I absolutely adore these authors that did Duskbound and Riftborn. So I'm loving that world. But then because I'm in my werewolf era, my friends have been bugging me to read this other book called Rabid, which is Raven Kennedy and Ivy Asher, and they've been telling me to read it forever. And they're just like, this has like what they believe is the epitome of knotting. Like every knotting for them is judged based on this book.
I love the way that you say knotting. It just sounds so proper in your Australian accent. I feel like
it's like the only way I can say it with a straight face.
It does not sound. It sounds so. I'm like, oh, proper. What could that be?
Oh, how luxurious! What's that? So I am just finishing. I literally have done that one in like 24 hours. That's like
wow.
probably.
Obviously, I love Raven Kennedy, so
Correct. And we know her spice is always good. So that's your paranormal. Yeah. It's probably that slight next level up in the werewolf genre where you've got like Mate, and then this is kind of that next level up if you're going a little deeper into that. But super enjoyable, great MMC, very like wolfy, wolf pack, spicy, fun times. Just a good, fun, light read, you know? So yeah.
Well, I got to read Mate next so that we can talk about it.
Join me in the werewolf era.
We love an Allie Hazelwood book, and we love it that Allie Hazelwood did paranormal, starting to kind of get into fantasy. So,
well, and next time I'll try and remember to tell you that I started reading it so you can do it as well.
No, it's all good. I just thought it was so funny that it's been a week and you've already read that and another book. You are voracious. I mean, I've been doing okay. Like, I'm almost at 50 books for the year, which is like a good amount considering like I published a book and I'm also writing 2 other books right now. But I just like cannot keep up with you.
Yeah, and but I'm doing 0 writing. Like that's where I'm just like be putting my head in the sand and being like, I'm researching, okay? I'm learning about what style of writer I want to be before I think about starting to put more words in pages. My book's back to the planning stage. Okay, all right, but another thing I wanted to quickly talk about was that I saw Callie Hart in interview just recently. A couple of weeks ago, she came to Melbourne, and so I got to go with a few of my friends and see Callie Hart in interview, which was really good. I was hoping we would get an opportunity to ask her a few more questions. The only issue we had, which maybe is an issue a few people have when it comes to authors getting interviewed live, there seems to be this unwritten rule with authors, maybe you know because you are an author, Allie, that when authors go and do like a interview sort of thing, they get another author to interview them. And that's what happened with Callie Hart. She had another author come along. He's actually very successful in his own right, and he was really funny. He was awesome, Jay Christoph. But they ended up like just having a great old banter and going on tangents, talking about where the wild things are and where they like their favorite books and things. And they didn't talk enough about the actual series.
Yeah.
Which was like, it was great, but when you've only got an hour and you've paid for a ticket, you kind of like,
you want to see her squirm a little bit around some questions. Like, that's what you want. You want her to be like, I can't answer that. No, I mean, obviously I am barely an author and I don't really have that. I've never done a public interview, but when I make it big, I'll be sure to make sure that we really cover the book itself.
Well, it's just you want to know more about it. You want to know more about it. And it was like we got to the final question, and my typical thing would be, "What's one thing you can tell us about the next book?" Like that would be. It was like, okay, final question, something really important. What book inspires you the most, or something? And it was
nobody cares.
I'm like, I don't care about that. Tell me about Kingfisher. Like, tell me is Carrie going to get a happy ever after? Like. So anyway, that was my little bugbear. But look, she did answer a couple of really good questions. Probably the best thing she answered was talking about the TV series. She gave us a fair bit of information that it sounds like, even though it's slow, she said it's very slow, but it sounds like it's progressing along. Like they've got a director, a producer, Netflix is progressing it. She kind of just got swayed when they started asking about casting. So we didn't get to officially find out if casting has commenced. Possibly not, but I think it's maybe close. So fingers crossed. We'll have some more updates there soon. At least it sounds like it's progressing really nicely.
I really hope that Netflix does it good because to be fair, so far they've only really taken YA romantasy that they've tried, like the Shadow and Bone series. I thought they totally bungled that. So I really hope that like they do it right.
They can do it justice.
Especially as an adult series, and they don't try to like water it down or I don't know, but I
agree.
Fingers crossed. This will be a good test for
fingers
them.
Crossed. Yeah. Look, as I say, I do think they have a really good. I think this book is very turn into a movieable.
Absolutely,
because it's a very visual book. It's a very visual book.
Really big.
Like, casting is going to be absolutely paramount. If they can get the casting right, then they'll be going really, really well. I think that and a good script will make a world of difference. So fingers crossed we'll get something good there. All right. Let's jump into a little bit of a Quicksilver recap.
Yeah.
Now, should we start with a little game first, Allie, before we go any further?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm really excited for this game. Nicole came up with it.
Right. Because guys, let's be honest. Okay. I read this book like a year or so. I've read it a couple of times and I did a refresh a couple of weeks ago, but my brain does not hold information that well. So unless I write it down, it's a little hazy. It's a little hazy. And Allie, for you, I think it's been a little while since you've read this book as well.
I've only read it once. I did re-listen to our episode and then I did some reading of summaries online, but definitely hazy.
Okay. So we are going to do what I'm calling a poor man's recap. We are going to go sentence by sentence talking about what we can remember about the book. And let's see if we give you guys a reasonable recap or a terrible recap. But we're just going to see how it unfolds. And if it's really bad, well, we can just delete it and it never happened. But let's have
don't worry,
some
we'll
fun.
give you a real recap afterwards. But this is going to be more.
Yeah. This is just our little play one, just to see how much actually retained in our memory. All right. Allie, do you want to kick us off with how did Quicksilver begin in your memory?
So, one sentence at a time. We meet Ceres, a orphan in a desert kingdom who has to fight for water. Period.
Yes. And she is running away from some soldiers who she's stolen like a hand.
Like a glove, like a golden glove thing.
It's like magical powers. She's stolen that for some. I can't remember why. She just did. And she has to ration for water. And she somehow ends up at the bar, which seems to have copious amounts of alcohol, even though there's a shortage of water. But let's not go into that. And we meet Carrion.
We meet Carrion Swift, a former lover, former partner. Maybe not lover. That's maybe too strong of a word. A former hookup, let's say. Mm-hmm. And he is basically bullying her brother.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, they've got him like in a headlock, I think. They've got her brother Hayden, which I remember is his name, in a headlock. And she basically has to save her brother. And she's annoyed by that. Yeah.
Yes, because basically Carrion tricks her. And we kind of find out that Carrion really liked her and maybe did it just with the intention of trying to have an excuse to talk to Ceres again.
Yeah.
And I can't quite remember how the next part plays out, but somehow...
Just go to the next thing you remember.
So the next thing I remember is that then she is... maybe it was like something about that glove and they find out that she's got it hidden and Carrion's like, you need to you shouldn't have that here. That's super dangerous. You need to go hide that immediately because otherwise our whole area is going to get shut down by the guards.
Yeah. And she basically goes back to where she has been living and there are guards and she goes on the run from the guards. That's kind of the main next thing that happens.
Yes. Then we have action. I think she climbs a wall and then she decides, stuff it, I'm going to put the glove on, which I think she puts it on and then it gives her power or something.
I think so.
And,
which is probably important, by the way. That's probably important.
Probably, but we've forgotten. And then we also found out that she has this power over metal, that she can control metals to some degree, or she hears them ringing in her ears and stuff. But power is illegal where she is, so she has to keep that super quiet, low key. But now she realizes she can't escape these guards. She has to fight them.
Yeah. And ultimately, there's fight, action. She ends up in the palace and she has been captured and she tries to lie about her identity, but it doesn't work. And she meets the queen and turns out all the rumors, she's like, those rumors are true. This woman is immortal. And she is about to be tortured or something.
Yes.
Basically.
And then, and I think, does she basically leave her with her guard and say, kill her?
Yeah.
But
So what I remember, I'll just go next because I remember. So then there's like a sword in this like kind of like a sword
like
in
an
the stone type
Excalibur.
of thing, and it's just kind of like sitting, and she is like the guard is like about to either kill her or torture her or something like that, and she's like gonna escape, and so she's like, oh well, there's a sword right there. Let me just quickly pull that out, and she does.
Yes, yes. And then we realize, wait, that sword hasn't been pulled out in like 10,000 years. It's impossible to pull that sword out. How did you manage to do that? And then I think she starts fighting the guard. And then from where she pulled the sword, it turns into a big Quicksilver pool of Quicksilver. And then they start sinking. I think she starts sinking into it, doesn't she?
And she says, and I remember this, like, death himself has come for me.
Yes. Someone rises up because, like, I think she's dying. I think like the bad guy has like stabbed her.
She's dying, and so she sees someone coming out of this pool of Quicksilver, and she's like, "Okay, I am for sure dying. Death is here to claim me," and she thinks he's beautiful, and then fade to black, and that's how that first act ends.
Yes. Well, and I think he takes her into the Quicksilver. And the next minute she wakes up in a beautiful palatial room with a big tall glass of water beside her, which she guzzles down and thinks, wow, that's like 4 rations worth of water. How did they give that to me? And then she meets this sweet, lovely Fae, who then gives her more water, which she's really excited about. But then she becomes terrified because she's always been told that the Fae are very evil and dangerous, and they've been told these horrible stories about the Fae and to stay far, far away from them. And she realizes she's now in a Fae world.
Yeah. And this is getting a little fuzzy for me, but somehow she realizes that she's in a Fae world and that the person she thought was Death is also Fae. And there's another person who's nice. And and basically she's like, okay, the guy that I thought was Death is really annoying and I do not like him at all because he's a rude asshole because he says
okay, but something happens before that. Because then she gets taken to the king of that realm and and she like has to stand before him and stuff, and they're I don't know, they're there saying, you know, you're from another dimension or whatever. But then Kingfisher comes in and he's like he's been hiding out because this king doesn't like him. And he also has given her, she has a pendant on and she doesn't really know why, but it's actually Kingfisher's pendant. And when he comes in, he's all kind of feral and out of control and stuff. And they nearly kill him, but then I think somehow the friends of his kind of talk the king into not doing that just yet and lets them go or gives them a quest or something.
I think gives him his pendant back from her necklace, right?
Yeah.
I think he gets his little necklace back.
Yes. That's right. I think the king was going to keep it, but they negotiate to keep it on Kingfisher.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the king tasks her, basically tells her, like, you can control the Quicksilver, and tasks her with figuring out how to do it and making like magical items. And she's like, WTF, I have no idea how to do that. But she kind of agrees because otherwise she's going to be killed.
Yes. And then at some point in here, it becomes less about the king and more about Kingfisher. And she gets into this bargain. Kingfisher starts offering these bargains. And not just that, but now that he's got his pendant on, he's being super morally grey, but also real dirty talk with her.
And
Yes, calling her little Osha and things. And then they basically get into a bargain where she says, you know, you can release me. You have to release me after I make you all the pendants you require, which basically ends up being about 1 million pendants. So she's not going anytime soon.
Yeah. And there's really honestly, I think the main thing here is the vibes. I don't think the plot really matters. For the rest of the time that she's in this castle, it's just the vibes. And she's in the forge. She can't figure out what to do, and they have a lot of banter and a lot of sexy time. And like she says she hates him, and then there's this really fun scene where she like tries to seduce him, and he like pretends to let her, but her goal is to like steal his ring so that she can go back, or his pendant so that she can go back through the Quicksilver. And he knows what she's doing the whole time, and basically lets her like embarrass herself to seduce him, but he doesn't let her get the pendant. And it's the best scene ever. It's so good. So
it is.
There are some great romantic vibes.
And so often she's really angry at him, and then she accidentally ends up on top of him. Like, don't know how it happens, but somehow that's always how things eventuate. Anyway, she is on a mission to rescue her brother, and she tries to get that ring to rescue her brother and go through the Quicksilver. But then Kingfisher outlines that ring is actually fake. It doesn't do anything, that you should need the pendant. And then he agrees, right, I will go back and get your brother so that you settle down. So stay here. I will go do it for you. I think he might also make some kind of bargain with her at that time to do it.
The bargain is that she has to do what he says. And she thinks it's like because like, I think so somehow they end up, I think she gets the ring from him actually, but he like lets her take it basically. And she ends up at the Quicksilver, and she's like about to jump in, and he's like, I wouldn't do that. And then he's like, okay, I'll go get your brother, but you have to do what I say. Stay right there. So he like tricks her. And so she agrees, thinking that like all she's doing is what he says right now. But what she really has agreed to is like, she pretty much has to obey him all the time, no matter what.
Everything that he does.
It's
Yes.
pretty morally gray.
Yes. Anyway, so he goes off and he comes back, but he does not return with her brother. He accidentally returns with Carrion, which is just the best thing ever, because
it's so great.
They introduced this awesome Carrion. To not have him continue in this story would have been devastating. So we get Carrion, which then adds to the fact that how did Kingfisher choose Carrion and not her brother? And it was because he smelt like her, because her scent was still on him from when they had hooked up a few weeks earlier.
Yeah. It's pretty hilarious. And then she's like trying to get him to come to go back and get her brother, but he's like, nope, bargain fulfilled. I'm not doing anything more. And yeah. Anything else in the castle?
In fairness to Kingfisher, I think he was like, that was so, because it's very traumatic. Every time they go through the Quicksilver, it's very traumatic. And he's I really just can't do it again. If I do it again. No, I think also because when he does it, he has to put that pendant on the traveler, and he has to just go through it without it. So he's like, I'm done. He's like, that was really hard work. I'm not doing that again. You're just going to have to live with it. But luckily, Carrion tells us that her brother's actually okay, set him up in an apartment. The Queen didn't actually do anything to him. Life's just back to normal there, and the brother's safe at least. So she gets that little bit of closure.
Yeah. And somehow, and I don't really remember the motivation why, but I don't think it matters. She and Kingfisher and their entourage, which includes Carrion and his sister and all of the above, go to his like family estate, which is like the war front. And I don't really remember why they go to the family estate, but they do.
I'm going to say it's got something to do with them forging these weapons that they're trying to forge with the Quicksilver, because she's the only one that can do it, because she has control of metals. So she's trying to figure out how to make these magical weapons, and she has to like...
Maybe the forge there is like better or something.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but for some reason they end up at his estate. Yeah.
And then the estate is a good time for sure. They're like, they're getting to know each other. There's some crazy stuff going on. Before we kind of get introduced to the war, it's all kind of vibes for me. So do you remember anything specific?
I just remember, apart from sexy time, that they had the scene at the dinner table.
The dinner table.
She sits down, and it's actually like she sits in this particular spot next to him, and everyone's just in shock, and they're like, what? And she's like, what? I'm just sitting. What's
and he's just like, no, let her sit there. Like, she wants to be there. She can be there. And then we find out after the fact that it is like his mom's seat. It's like the seat for the lady of the house. And
that's right. That's right. Now, I think around this time we have our first sexy time, and an interesting thing about when they have intimacy is his tattoos from his body transfer onto her. And all of a sudden, she's got these tattoos going up her arm. She's got like this bird tattoo on her boob.
Yeah.
And she is very upset about this. She's like, what is going on? Why did this happen? Make it go away.
Yeah. There are also, we find out that Carrion has been like ordered to bathe with very specific like soap that we like, and we don't really know why at first. But then we find out that it's like the only soap that like can get rid of like the smell that Kingfisher is smelling. And all the while that she's at the estate, she is trying to create the amulets, basically the ring, like some kind of wearable thing, so like, and it's there that would protect people from Quicksilver. And so Kingfisher's soul, like all of his soldiers have provided some kind of important piece of jewelry to them, so a family heirloom, ring, necklace, etc., earring. And that is what she's trying to do this whole time, is she's trying to figure it out. She's making these cute little like bargains with the Quicksilver, which I just absolutely love, where, you know, it'll be like, okay, I'll do this, but you have to tell me a memory. I'll do this, but you have to sing me a song. Like really cute things like that. Yes. And that is one of my favorite parts.
Yes. So I can't remember which one comes along first, whether those bargains with the Quicksilver happen first or this war with the vampires. But I think one time they're at the dinner table and all of a sudden there's like different levels of vampires, and the like feral ones kind of come in and attack them, and they have to fight them around that time. And that's when sort of the war aspect kicks up. And I think there's another way of traveling. There's the Quicksilver way of traveling is really dangerous. And there's also a more local type of travel where they can just travel to the war front and they just pop out there, and then they can and that's right on this barrier between the Fey realm and the vampire realm. And we find out that Kingfisher has some kind of connection to the king of the vampires, but he can't talk about it because he's been put into a bargain with him and he can't tell her a lot of the information. So there's a lot of questions there that we don't know. Yeah.
But while she's after that vampire attack, Kingfisher then starts traveling back and forth to the war, and she has to stay at the manor, and she hates that. She's like, gets really, really angry that she doesn't get to travel. Like he leaves her there for days at a time where she's just having to like try to figure out how to use the forge. She doesn't like that. There's one day where they get in some kind of spat and he orders her like not to move, not to leave the room. And she
I hated that thing.
And she hates it, and she's so mad at him. And that I believe it ends in sexy time though, somehow. I don't remember how, but
it was I mean, Carrion offers for them to like sleep in the bed to piss off Kingfisher, but she doesn't go through with that. But I think she didn't get poisoned, but she got infected. They had to get
hurt. She was hurt, and he's like, and she wants to not. She was like not taking care of herself, and so he orders her to like stay
in bed until she's completely 100% better, which she's very, very upset about. But then we find out that the Quicksilver has a consciousness. It says this Anarathmore. It keeps saying that, which we don't really know what it means. But Kingfisher seems to have a real reaction to that particular saying when she says it to him. And she starts to talk to it. It kind of whispers to her and says things, and she realizes she can communicate with this Quicksilver. And she starts to say, well, she's trying to figure out how to get it to work. She's trying all these different things, and she can't get it. And then Carrion's there one day, just casually eating his quiche or whatever he's eating. And then he's like, have you tried just asking it? And she's like, well, why would I ask it? Like, that would just be stupid. But no, I haven't tried that. Well, maybe I will. And then, which I really question now, because, I mean, Carrion knew so much more than we thought he knew. So when he just casually threw that in, I watched that for Brimstone. Yeah. So she then asks it, would you turn into this magical thing for me? And it said, well, we want a song. We want a secret. something that no one else would know. And she starts to make these bargains with the Quicksilver, and that then allows her to create these weapons, these magical weapons.
The relics, the things that protect them from the Quicksilver. So that's kind of like, there's like it's honestly broken up into like various settings, right? You have like the deserty kingdom, then you have her being at the palace, then you have her being at the manor. Anything else while she's at the manor before we kind of move into when she's at the war front?
Just Carrion eating his quiche and sharing his quiche with her, and him just being generally awesome, and neither confirming nor denying that he had fun, sexy time with the 3 little water wraiths that assisted him with his cleaning and moss application too. But he was so fun through this whole section, and I think he just like dominated in this part of the book.
Yeah. And then we move into like, finally Kingfisher agrees to like bring her to the war front, to the battle camp or whatever, where the army camp. She has a pretty nice tent. And then also like up on a hill, she has another forge that's been made for her so that she can continue working with the Quicksilver while she's at the army camp. And I think there's some going back and forth to the manor. I don't think they're like 100% at the war camp, but I don't think that totally matters.
I've got like I feel like they've got like is it not a word key? Like what's the thing that they jump through in Harry Potter? Like where they can like go through places and they like throw the dust down and they've got like portals anyway. They've got like more local portals. And the first time she goes through, she's all like head spinning and feels nauseous. But after that, it's all pretty good.
Yeah. And she gets to meet more of Kingfisher's like inner circle while she's in the war camp, and she starts to develop friendships with them. There's somebody who like has a beautiful singing voice but like never sings again, and I think you just start to see that like there's a lot of history and story here that she's trying to kind of understand and get at, and is not having a lot of success in kind of understanding.
Yes. And we find out a little bit more about Kingfisher when he's in certain scenes. He comes in and there's all these like ex-soldiers and things that are there, and they're all like bowing to him, and they think that he's amazing, but he's like, no, I failed you. That's not who I am now. He's sort of not accepting that there's been a lot of history that's happened, and Kingfisher's got a lot of trauma from that, I guess we could say.
Yeah. And we find out that he is the son of his mother and a very, very powerful, wealthy, kind of noble family. And then his father died and his mom remarried the king. And the king, that's kind of why the king hates him. But like, he has like, even though his family or his dad wasn't like the ruling class, his family was like very important and influential.
Yes. And his mum had powers. She could like see the future, and she said she had seen Kingfisher's mate and sort of described her to him, but had said that she had fey ears. And it's important to point out right now that Ceres is human at this point in time.
Yes. Yeah. The next thing I remember is them going to the little village. So do you remember anything else in between?
I was going to jump straight into the meeting like the Vampire King and Dan.
Okay. They have
that next? Was there something else in between there?
Well, there's probably a lot that we're missing, but they have this sweet little moment where, and I don't remember why, but they go to this like cute little village and they like shop around, and like it kind of becomes clear to Ceres that this is like his mom's village where she's from. And Fisher is like a totally different person. He's like super sweet. They get drunk. They go back to this apartment where they're here, and they have like a really kind of like sweet, fun night together. And shockingly, I don't really remember the moment that that like she figures out that they're mates, that Anarath Moor means mate.
Yes.
I don't remember that. Do you remember it?
I feel like does she at some point realize that the markings are mate markings? Because yeah, she does realize she's got like her helper, and she has the tattoos, and she's like, oh, you've got the tattoos, and she goes, oh yeah, these are my mate markings, but these aren't real ones because real ones haven't existed in millennia. This is just we have it tattooed on because we're madly in love. And then she realizes that her markings are the real thing. And not only that, she's got a ton of them, God marks, actually. So she knows that there's a lot more to this mate's connection than meets the eye. And this kind of connection hasn't existed in a very, very long time. But yeah, I can't remember too much else about the village apart from there being some like grandma that kind of knows him pretty well. And, we kind of, as you say, we see the softer side of him. But then basically stuff happens, they hook up, whatever. But then I feel like we get to where they're with the king of the vampires on like the other side of the barrier or whatever they've got between them. And he's got Kingfisher's sister.
Yeah. So I think what happens is they have this little sweet night in the village, and I don't think they hook up that night because she's like too drunk, but they like he takes care of her and it's really sweet. And then I think they wake up and either find out while they're in the village or like go back and find out immediately that Malcolm, the king of the vampires, has taken and enthralled his half sister. And that makes her like she's not herself. Like she's totally in his control, but still like capable of like talking and stuff like that. And so there's this big kind of like standoff. They're like on opposite sides of the river, right? There's this like really big war and they're like kind of losing. And then like his sister shows up, and that's kind of like when he realizes like, oh my gosh, this is he takes her. And so then from there, I believe he like they all agree that they're not going to do anything about it, and then he like sneaks off or something in the night to go rescue her. And Sarah realizes that and is like, oh, no, I'm going to go after him. And so then she goes after him as well. And like it's this like really hard journey that she has to go on, and she has to like climb up frozen walls and stuff like that, and ultimately ends up at the vampire palace. And like learns that there's like history between Malcolm the Vampire King and Kingfisher, and somehow ends up in a maze. Don't really know how she ends up in a maze.
No, this part of the story is so hazy for me. I'm like, I'm really glad you're talking about this because I can't quite remember what happened.
The part I remember the best, but it's like everything before this, I was like, ooh, I do not know.
I'm like, did that happen first? But anyway, yeah, we know that like Malcolm and Kingfisher basically come together and they go through this maze, and then we find out she ends up like on top of this, the middle of the maze, which I think Kingfisher was stuck in for a really, really long time. And it's got like thousands and thousands of coins, and he has to find like the one pendant, and he basically spends hundreds of years,
decades or 50 years or something looking.
Yes. And at some point, and I'm not sure if it's this point, but all those people around, like they're all trapped and like they're in some kind of, I don't know, I would say like in my brain it was like a Colosseum sort of thing where they're all around them and they're all screaming Anarath more, and she realizes that they're all the souls and they're trapped, and Kingfisher's been traumatized by that this whole time, or like that whole time that he was trying to find this correct pendant to escape because Malcolm was playing games, and Malcolm had said to him, because Malcolm is in love with Kingfisher, and he was like, I will set you free if you just. Does he want him to bite? Which one wants to bite who? I can't remember if Malcolm wants to bite Kingfisher or if he wants Kingfisher to bite him. I think he wanted Kingfisher to bite him, and he was really upset that he'd bitten Sarah's, because that's right. Forgot about that little aspect. That one thing that they don't do in here is you don't bite during sexy time, because that's a bit taboo. It's a bit something you don't do, and you can lose control. But she's been like, bite me, Kingfisher, and he couldn't control himself and he bit her. And anyway, yeah, basically Malcolm is really upset that he has bitten Sereth and he didn't get to experience
and we for sure know that Malcolm is like in love with Kingfisher and like very like attracted to Kingfisher, and that there's some intense weird history there. We don't really know if Kingfisher ever really had feelings back. It seems like no, but you know, it's hard to say, but for sure he like never like engaged with Malcolm in that way, and Malcolm was like really upset. And so ultimately while they're in the Sarys has to battle like all these different creatures and tests in the maze, and when they get to the middle, like all the people are there, and we basically find out in this moment, I don't exactly know how it comes to be, but we find out that Kingfisher, all these like people that we're seeing in this Coliseum yelling Anarath Moore are the souls of the people that he burned. He burned a whole city down to save it from Malcolm somehow. So he burned the whole city down to save it from Malcolm. And I thought I misspoke earlier. I said Anarath Moore meant mate. That's absolutely not right. What does Anarath Moore mean?
I think it meant like rescue us or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that. Now I can't actually, I'll have to go look it up again. I probably have it on a different set of notes, but yeah, it meant something like rescue us,
rescue us, or something like that.
Yeah.
So essentially Sarys completes the maze and like completes all the tasks because she's a baddie. It's so hazy here. And then
I'm just gonna jump to like somehow they end up in an epic battle then with Malcolm and the vampire army and their army, or somehow like Malcolm ends up there and they're fighting, and then Malcolm ends up fighting Carrion, and Carrion's like, he says something to Malcolm that's like, you know, you would never bite me or something like that. And then Malcolm's like, oh, yeah, I fucking will. And then he bites him. And then we find out that there's more to Carrion than meets the eye.
Yes. And Malcolm is really angry because Sarys found the coin and somehow reveals to Sarys that she can work with more than just Quicksilver, that she can work with like all metals. And that's when he finds out that Fisher bit her, and he's so jealous and so enraged that he like punches her with his like vampire strength in the abdomen, and she's basically dying. And in the process, she's able to like basically like you have to find the coin and like flip it or something like that, and then that somehow kills Malcolm. I don't really know.
No, it doesn't. No. Carrion is the one that kills Malcolm, because Malcolm's like, he's unkillable. He's been alive for like 10,000 years. But Carrion tricks him into biting him, and instantly Malcolm has this really bad reaction that like basically Carrion's blood is like poison for him, because Carrion's family tree is like, I want to say it's like the
rightful heir of this Fey heir of this kingdom. So like,
yes, and they're kind of like and they're like vampire hunters. Like basically they're like these vampire hunter family, and like a vampire should never drink the blood from this particular family, and he accidentally does because he doesn't know that Carrion is from this Fey family.
And then like tricks him into doing it. Yes,
he does, and then Carrion morphs into his true form, which is a 7-foot Fey male. And he's actually been hiding in Section 3. I'm going to call it Section 3 because I can't remember what else it's called. Like all these years, hundreds and hundreds of years, waiting to get back to the Fey realm and basically hiding there. And the family in that human realm have been generation by generation, like looking after Carrion all this time to wait for his return to the Fey realm. So they then... Malcolm is mostly dead, but I think Sarys finally cuts his head off, I think, and like that, like finishes that. And then more stuff happens, a little fuzzy, but somehow, maybe you remember.
Get revealed is that Malcolm, the king of this realm, and then another woman are kind of like a triumvirate, and they're like siblings.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they have kind of connected and have been like manipulating the events of things.
The queen from the human realm is actually one of those
the king from this realm, and the vampire king.
Yes.
And they have actually been working together, even though they're like pretending that they like hate each other. They've actually been working together and have like bound their power to one another. And that's like they it turns out like they're all evil, and they've all been working together to kind of like basically keep control and keep power.
Yeah.
And then and so that's kind of like a big reveal. And then Sarah's basically dies.
Yes. Like there's some big fight, explosion, whatever, and she's like falling, and she falls into the lake or the river or whatever, and then she basically dies. Yes.
She basically dies. And so then she kind of wakes up in this like peaceful little grassy knoll, and there's these two like beautiful girls or something who are like who basically ask her like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, I don't know, you tell me. And then they like lead her to speak with someone, and that someone turns out to be the god of chaos, who you are never supposed to look upon.
Yes. And everyone's scared of this god of chaos, but she meets him, and he's actually a pretty nice guy. He's a pretty nice guy, and he's explaining how, I think he almost explains a little bit how he actually oversees and rules most things, and that all the other gods want to kill her, because basically what's happened is they've looked at every possible option, and no matter what happens, when Kingfisher and Ceres connect together in any realm, the world gets overrun with the vampires and losers, and everyone dies.
And so like, chaos and evil like rule,
reigns supreme.
Darkness, I think is how they describe it, like darkness comes or something. And he though has been, and so she has this, there's this big tree. I just remember the visual of the tree, like all the branches are like black except for like one, and he basically is saying to her like, do you want to go back, like knowing this information, do you want to go back? And she says she does. And he says that like, we're gonna watch you now basically and see what happens. And so this god who you never want to look upon and you don't want his attention is basically telling her, I'm gonna watch you.
I know. But anyway, he'd been meddling this whole time, intentionally, because he tried to keep Kingfisher and Ceres apart. She was actually meant to be Fae, but because of what was going to happen, they'd said, well, let's separate them, her in the human realm, Kingfisher in this realm. But they found that no matter what they did, they always ended up back together. So now he's in a bit of a conundrum of saying, what do I do now? And he says, the only thing we can do is to change the game. There's like one way we can do it. There's something I can do, but are you willing to take that risk? And Sarah says, yes, I'm willing to take that risk. And then she is portaled back to, I can't remember if they have some kind of shaken agreement or something, but then she's portaled back to life, back in the Fae realm.
And she wakes up and basically...
Sorry, we forgot a major part. Okay, she was dying, and Kingfisher's there and he's crying. So I backtracked a little bit because I just remembered an important aspect that we've forgotten that will be relevant. She was dying, and Taladeus, who was Malcolm's second in command, actually is a pretty good guy. And all of a sudden he's next to Kingfisher and he's like, oh, we're actually both on the same side. Like Malcolm was crazy and we were trying to work from the inside to solve things. So anyway, she's dying and Kingfisher wants to give a piece of his soul to keep her alive, but he's already done that for someone else. He doesn't really have any left. And Taladeus is there saying, you can't do that because you can't, you've got none left. He's like, the only thing I can do is I can turn her into a vampire. It's like, do you want me to bite her? And they're trying to get her permission, and then, but like, she's like dying, so she can't really give permission. And then the last minute, Kingfisher's like, she gives permission, and it fades to black, and then we get the god scene. And then we get okay, now I'll let you go back to where you're up to.
I remembered that she got turned into a vampire, and that Taladeus bit it. I just forgot that she was like aware of that. So she comes back from meeting with the god of chaos, and she wakes up and basically finds out that she has been bitten, and now she is half fae and half vampire, and that because of the laws, which I don't really remember, but there's some technicality, and she is now actually the queen of the vampires.
Yes, because she killed Malcolm, and Malcolm didn't have an heir. He hadn't declared an heir, and he didn't have any official children. the person who kills him becomes the ruler. So she is now queen. But yeah, she wakes up, and we've never had a half fae, half vampire before. So watch this space as to what that's going to mean. We might talk later about what some of our theories are. When she wakes up, she can't actually remember like going through her transition, but then because Taladeus has taken those memories away from her, but she says, no, I want them back. She gets them back, and she sees all the horrible pain and everything. She also remembers that the first person she bites is Taladeus. So I think that's just a really interesting little snippet there just to like throw in there as to whether that's going to be important or not. But yes, she's made a good recovery, and really the last thing is her finding out that she is now queen of the vampires, and she is actually in the vampire castle and ruling that side of the world, the river. Fade to black. Now we're waiting for Brimstone.
That is when we find that actually that last chapter is when we find out that Carrion is like the heir to the Fae throne. We also find out that the vampires think they have a way to like take the Quicksilver out of Fisher, but that it will take a really long time. And
they're slowly pulling it out like tiny little droplets at a time.
Yes, exactly. And so I think that's important, because I think potentially in Brimstone, we're going to have a world where Kingfisher is off and away, trying to be healed or something like that. And Saris is having to kind of deal with all of this new information on her own. And we don't actually find out or get confirmed for sure what is the thing that the god of chaos says will be different this time around. Like, what is the thing he's doing that's making everything
only
different?
that she is now half fae, half vampire, and that has never happened before.
Potentially, we think that's what it is. I think it's like, we think that's the thing, right? Is that she's now half vampire, and that's like the new thing he's going to introduce into the branch to make things different. But I think there's a world where like there's more to it, and I could see potentially where like maybe if this is going to either be a why choose, or Carrion's going to be her, like somehow a lover of hers. Potentially that's the thing that's getting introduced that's different too.
Well, I'm now wondering about Taladeus. I am now wondering if she's gonna. I mean, okay, I know this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so deep in my love triangles at the moment. Like, good luck to me, like, ever moving away from that. I think on my most recent reads, I've started to maybe slightly more, like, pull away from the idea that it will be Carrion, as much as I've loved that forever. But I just found it very interesting that Taladeus has just kind of been brought into the picture, that now she's half vampire, so we don't know what kind of impact that's going to have on her face side, and that she bit him straight away. She
like kind of this like thing that is like really taboo. You only do with a lover. Totally, it's really really interesting.
In saying that, guys, I honestly, I'm pretty sure that Callie Hart is not going to do a love triangle. I'm pretty sure she adores Kingfisher. She seems to, in all her interviews, she's been very adamant that Kingfisher's endgame and it's all about Kingfisher. My feelings are that I wonder how she's going to keep the tension going over the next two books, since so much of their relationship has already unfolded in this first book. They're already mates. They've already gone through a lot of that trauma and coming together. The Quicksilver's getting like that. He's getting better from that. I feel like their love story has more or less already been achieved. Now it's just making it bigger and better and more spicy time, and maybe throwing in some miscommunication or something to cause some drama. But I would definitely love to see a few more of these other characters and where that's going to go.
And maybe, I mean, obviously she's a vampire, so there's going to be some level of she has to have blood to survive. One of my questions is like, can she even have Carrions, or would that harm her? So no Carrion blood potentially. Which could be interesting if we are getting like a why choose, you know, like she wants to bite them both and can't. I don't know. I'm kind of like spitballing.
You've been reading so many hockey romances. You're like, why choose?
I know. I love a good why choose.
And
the reason I don't often like why chooses is because they don't have enough like romantic tension for me. But this is like really like, if this were a why choose, I would be like, oh, this is great romantic tension. Maybe she needs to bite him maybe like she's biting Taladeus because that's like a safe bet that like he's jealous of it. So
Well,
I don't know.
He's her maker now. Like, there's obviously a deep connection with the person that turns you, and we don't yet know much about the vampires in this realm and what kind of connection you have to that. She's definitely going to have a connection to Teledeus now. Maybe it'll be a more fatherly kind of affection. I don't know, but it's certainly interesting. And maybe it's a very common thing for them to bite their maker during that transition period. Yeah. But it was just interesting that if we compared it to like Jennifer Armentrout when the FMC is turned sort of into like a vampire, they're biting the MMC. Like that's who they're biting. They're not biting anyone else.
They're not biting anyone else.
No.
The other thing that I don't think we talked about. So we know that Kingfisher had a bargain of some kind with Malcolm that said he couldn't talk about his time with Malcolm. But I think the question is, now that Malcolm is dead, is he going to talk about it? And are we going to find things out about him? Like, is there going to be, you know, what more information are we going to get now that he couldn't previously reveal that could potentially lead to some tension, or just kind of some expansion of like the world and the vampires and all the players? The queen of the human realm and the king of the Fey realm are both still alive, as far as we know. So there's going to definitely be like the need to contend with that. And then there's this whole element of the gods. Like, we have no idea what the gods are going to do. Are they going to start intervening? Like, that is a whole other interesting piece to this.
Yeah. I just want to point out that at some point, our poor man's recap kind of turned into a semi-real recap. Like, we just ended up, we went for half an hour, so I feel like you got a pretty good recap. Like, maybe not a good recap, but a recap.
You know what? It's a real recap. This is exactly, if any of you were trying to repack it yourself, this is exactly how it would go. So.
If we were hanging out at my house and we all had glasses of wine, this is the recap we would be talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what it would be. Unhinged, friendly, organic, just brainstorming ideas. And from that, we've also now charged straight into theories. So,
theories and questions. Here we go.
Yes. So do you think, okay, so I guess we've discussed the tension that we think. You do think that there is going to be some opportunities for tension in the next book.
Of course.
Apart from
there has to
that
be.
There's so much now that Malcolm is dead, there's going to be so much more information about that. She's now queen of the vampires. That's going to cause problems.
What does that even mean, you know?
Yep. Trying to remember, like, so I think Malcolm's dead, but I think the queen of the human realm is still alive. And so I don't think anything happened to the king of the Fey realm either.
I don't think so.
I think he's still okay as well. So there's still two other rulers that are in control of that triad that are still going to be causing a lot of problems and dramas.
Well, and we also know so interesting, right, is for all of Quicksilver, the vampires are the bad guys, right? That's the people we're fighting. That's the people that is the war. We're on the side of the Fae, and the vampires are the bad guys. And potentially now in book 2, the vampires are going to be the good guys fighting.
Yeah, who's going to be the bad guys?
What?
Who's going to be the bad guys now?
I think the Fae. Like, I think the Fae king and the queen. I think it's going to kind of like reverse itself. And now it's the vampires who are going to be trying to take down the queen and the king and probably restore Carrion to his rightful place on the throne. And then potentially we're going to meet some kind of maybe heir to the human realm that is going to be restored, which don't we find out that there's this like family of humans that have been like kind of taking care of Carrion, and like that's who he says is like his grandma, but like at one point it was like his best friend and stuff like that. Potentially that family could be,
we'll have a lot of information.
Or could be the ruler, the rightful rulers of the human realm or something.
Yeah. Well, I think something really sus is going on in that section 3, the section that she was living in. Basically, it seemed like the queen was trying to kill everyone off in that section. They were treated the worst. They had no water. They were treated very badly. And I don't know, a feeling we have is whether there is some they kind of say that they believe generations and generations of watered down Fae have kind of been hidden in there and they've existed. But then Ceres is so powerful, we have to wonder if there's a bit more to that than meets the eye. If there's more that's being hidden there. And I think Carrion is the dark horse in all this. And I think he knew a lot more than he's letting on, because that's what he's done 100%. So far. I think
he knows a
lot of things he's acted like he doesn't have any knowledge. He's just casually going around like it's no big deal. But quietly, I think he knows every little thing that's going on, every little game that's going on. And I wouldn't be surprised if he knew a lot. He knew that Ceres was more important than meets the eye, and whether he was watching out for her all that time.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing we have to remember is that Ceres has a brother, and they don't totally know like their lineage, right? They know their mom. Yeah. We don't know if they are both just like watered down Fae. Watered down Fae.
Do we even know if they've got the same father?
We don't know if they have the same father. No. We don't know if like potentially they just Fae is in their lineage. That's what I meant by watered down Fae. Like Fae is like far back in their lineage, or potentially her father was a full blown Fae that somehow was able to get to the human realm, and that's kind of why she's alive. And then maybe her brother Hayden is full human. So we don't know like where the Fae lineage is coming from. Is it the mom side or the dad side? So there's a chance that Hayden is just a straight human. Which again comes back to this really interesting, like, why is the queen so intent on keeping this particular section of her city or her world oppressed? Right? Is this where she is putting the most important people politically? You know, could Hayden have some kind of bigger role potentially? Is he, you know, maybe of royal lineage or something like that? I don't know. But I think it's important to remember that she has a brother that we haven't really.
No.
That's just been kind of chilling out. And I think it's interesting that like didn't end up coming over this time. Like I think there's more there with the brother.
Yeah. I definitely think for sure we're going to have them traveling back to the human realm, if for only the reason of rescuing the brother, but most likely for a bigger aspect of the story. And I think Ceres's background there and Carrion being there for so long is going to be purposeful. There's going to be a reason why all that has come to pass, and that's going to be part of the bigger story. I mean, we've got a 3-book series here. It's not like a duology, because I think based on where we're at now, I would guess a duology would probably wrap it up. Like, I feel like we got a lot resolved in the first book. So I feel like there's more to go, but it could possibly all be wrapped up in a second book. So we must have a much bigger world expanding in this book.
Which makes sense. We've got the gods now watching her. We've got, you know, we still have a whole vampire world to learn about. You know, we find like it's kind of revealed in this like really big way that she can control multiple types of metal. And they kind of make a big deal out of that, but you're also like, but we kind of already knew that. So like, what other metal is there, right? I think there's maybe more to Ceres's power than we know right now. And that's going to be another, perhaps brimstone is some kind of metal element or something, and she has control of that as well. I don't know. But that's another thing that we got to find out about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at this book holistically, for this series to really, the next book is hugely important. Like poor Callie Hart, she probably feels a huge amount of pressure on this next book because she's had this great success with book 1. It's done really, really well. But now book 2 is sort of going to make it or break it. This is the book where it's either going to expand and it's kind of going to do an iron flame where it gets even bigger and more intense and darker. And oh my gosh, big stuff went from little stuff happening to now big stuff happening. If she's just got the idea that she's just going to just expand a bit on what's already happened and just, she can control more metals and, the gods just want you to, you know, defeat the bad guys and it's all okay, that's not going to be much of a story. So there must be so much more to her power, to what's going to happen with her as the queen, to how they're going to defeat this epic evil, to the relationship. how all these worlds connect together and what this triad we're controlling until now and what the long-term purpose is going to be. I'm hoping we're going to see a really, really big bad, that Malcolm was just sort of the pretend bad guy, and now we're going to see who's the really bad. You know, you need a good villain. You need a big, epic, scary villain. So I think we really need to see what that next one's going to be.
And then, like, selfishly, I'm pretty excited for the spice, because even though this had great spice, I think you got the sense that Fisher was holding back a little bit because she was human, but now, like, she's a freaking part vampire. Like, maybe there won't be as much holding back, and I'm excited for what that looks like.
It's going to be wild. And she's actually said in the interview that the spice is like 4 chili peppers. Like, I think she rated the first one as like 2 chili peppers and this one like 4.
That's exciting. That's really exciting.
More spice. A lot more spice. And we don't know about POVs. I think she actually confirmed as well that I think we will have more Kingfisher POVs. I think she said she wanted to do dual POVs, but then it gave too much away with this story, so she had to stick to just having Ceres's POV. Whereas now that a lot of those secrets have been revealed, she can now do Kingfisher's POV as well. So that is also going to be exciting for the next book.
Yeah. And I should point out that, like, we have to.
No, I was going to say, I've got
perfect. That's
a little
Kingfisher POV, right? Or
this is an early sample. Yeah. So this is like the POV of Kingfisher as prologue.
The prologue. So yeah, that's exciting. That's really exciting. The other thing that we Kingfisher doesn't yet know that he and Ceres, like, always cause destruction in all of the world, and all of their, like, you know, like. So there's really, like, what's gonna be his reaction? Is he gonna be like,
would there be a world where Kingfisher will say, based on that, we can't be together?
To risk it, right? Because he's already so tortured about what he did to those 200,000 people and burning them. And so is there a world where he is like, I can't be with you? And so then there's some tension there as well.
That would be a lot of tension. Yeah, that would be a lot of tension. And tension that I'd freaking hate, but that would send me a bit feral. So yeah, that's a really good call out. Yeah. I love that.
We obviously had a lot more theories in our last episode. So I think if you're looking for, like, a lot of theories, just go check out that last episode. We don't want to rehash them here. This was kind of more of like prepping you for Brimstone.
Actually, I want to ask you one thing, because this question was asked at the interview and Callie wouldn't answer it. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on it. And this was the tattoo on her boob, the like bird. I think it was a bird.
Yeah.
And they asked if that had symbolism, and she wouldn't answer. I guess what the suggestion was the other tattoos were all, mate tattoos, god tattoos, but this one seemed to be something different based on what people there were thinking. So do you have any thoughts on what that might, if you have any ideas about what that might be in reference to?
He calls her little Osha, and isn't that a bird?
No, it's a butterfly.
Butterfly. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah. That's right. The butterfly's on the cover. So I have no idea, actually. I've got nothing.
It came up.
She's got some kind of, like, blessing from the gods. You know what I mean?
Correct. And whether that's a different god, again, whether she's going to have that drop of power or watching from another god that was also going to impact where things go from here, because it all came at the same time. It all came when they consummated their relationship and all the fate markings came on and the god marks. But this one is something different, and we don't know yet what it's in reference to.
Yeah, and if she didn't answer, I think it definitely means it's significant. So that's definitely.
Yeah. Can you remember what the other gods were? Because I think there was a scene where she goes. Is there a scene?
There is a scene in the palace. Yeah, she, like, goes and visits them all and, like, learns about, like, they're, like, walking down the hall and all the gods are there, and, like, as they're walking, Everlane, like, explains, like, there's this and this and this, and then, like, the god of chaos is, like, turned, because you're never supposed to look at him and you don't have him looking at you. So I don't remember all of them, but that would be, like, a good scene to go reread, I think.
Exactly. And see if any of them feel like they might have reference to that tattoo, because that would be my prediction is that there's another god that we're not that aware of
some
yet
kind of
that's
drop-in power,
having some input as well that might help in the long term. So
I agree.
Watch this space. Any final things that you're excited about for the next book, or any final questions you're really hoping to get answered in Brimstone?
No, I mean, I think honestly, I'm really excited. I just can't wait to read it. I can't wait to kind of get back into that world. Kingfisher, I am feral for, so I can't wait to see more of him. And I'm going to be so heartbroken if they are not together in this book for some reason.
I don't know what is wrong with me, because Kingfisher is my type. It's my
He's
type.
amazing.
Everything
Yeah,
about everything I like. Yet for some reason he's never really, I know people are going to hate me. It's never quite hit for me. And I've literally sat there and I've tried to break it down as to like, why do I feel this way? This like doesn't make sense. I've decided it's because the banter is just very sexual. Like literally every time they get caught up, I feel like it was just always straight into the spicy talk and everything. And he was a bit of a bully to start with, I think, before he kind of became nice. And I don't know, I think for some reason, maybe it was just because he tied her up in her bed for like a solid week, that I just got really angry at him with the bargains and everything. It wasn't like, say, I don't love that bully romance. Hence, I think I've always sat here, even though they've got fate markings, and I love fate. I love mates. Like every other book I read, they're mates. I'm like losing my mind with excitement. And then, and I said, my just general excitement for all like, triangle romances where they get the wrong one for the right one. It's unhealthy, the level of obsession I have for this trope now. I have to accept that not all series have this trope, and that is okay, and they are still amazing series in their own right. I just hope for more excitement. I hope for more, and not just
definitely though that like I can see it going in that direction. Like I wouldn't be shocked if it went in that direction. I don't necessarily want it to. If anything, I just want like a why choose, because I love Kingfisher. I do not want her.
Love Kingfisher.
But so like I wouldn't be shocked. I would think that it had been incredibly well done if she somehow turns us to like not wanting her to be with Kingfisher, because I would be like, wow, you really pulled off something really hard, because
and that's the thing, like if we compared it to other characters where that first love interest is not the end game love interest, generally there's a few weaknesses to their character that you go, they're not the right fit for each other. Whereas I don't think that really exists between Kingfisher and Ceres. They have connected very well together, and they seem to be good for each other. We haven't seen some epic weaknesses in Kingfisher to go, oh, I feel like he's not quite right for her. Whereas obviously Tamlin, Callum in the Wolf King, you see that while they're great, there are some not red flags, but maybe just things about them that aren't quite the right fit for that character. So
and the right person for them is usually in that book, and there is a little bit of sexual tension. Even like Rhysand, right? Like he pretends to like be her lover. I've been looking for you. There's always some kind of like that. And I do feel, I mean, that kind of exists initially with Carrion, but once she's with Fisher, she really does shut down that. It becomes very platonic with Carrion. So it will be very interesting. I really I'm excited to
hear me out, because the reason I love this particular trope is because it really keeps you in that yearning slow burn through multiple books. That you get this initial romance in the first book that feeds that little need for an initial romance, but you also get this indication of a different romance that may actually be even better and more epic. And then that stems over into the next book and allows that to only develop further and be the true kind of growth of that character. And I just love that so much. It's such an easy way to keep that tension as the books go on. But maybe Callie Hart is going to knock my socks off, and Kingfisher is going to be amazing in this next book. And then I'm going to be like, all over Kingfisher is amazing. But yeah.
We'll find out.
just here with, Hunt and everything else, where I'm like still just pining and hoping that there's just still another option, because I just can't accept it. But I'm sure Kingfisher's going to be great. And I think it's going to be very exciting to see what she brings to this next book. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm
All right.
excited. And then we will definitely do a Brimstone episode once we have it in our hands and have read it.
Have it in our hot little hands. So anyway, share with us, what are your thoughts? Are you excited for Brimstone? What are your pressing questions? Do you have theories about what's coming next? Do you also hope for a why choose or triangle, love triangle romance? Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.